Welcome back. Well, as we've been telling you, there's been a massive face-off going on between the centre and the opposition states, specifically on the sharing of revenues for GST. Now we understand there's been some kind of an agreement and a breakthrough in this impasse. Avni Raja, in fact, joins me with more details. Avni.
That's right, Tanvi. This is a big change in stance as far as the central government is concerned, because if you remember, there have been marathon meetings that have been held. States, especially the opposition states, have been adamant that the centre, in fact, borrow for them and then give it to them. But the centre has been adamant that they will not be able to borrow. But this now coming in, notification coming in from the Finance Ministry, which very clearly says that the centre will be borrowing 1.1 lakh crore under a special GST window, and that borrow amount will be passed on to the states as loans, and this will be in lieu of the GST compensation cess. That is the big bone of contention, the shortfall in that GST compensation, and this will be borrowed in tranches. Now the centre has said that this is not going to impact the fiscal deficit of the government of India, and it will avoid differential rate of interest for states, and the borrowings as far as the centre and states are concerned will not be increased. Now all of that through specific accounting practices that will be used for this particular borrowing. So this is something now that has changed as far as the centre is concerned. No reason as to why the states should not be willing to go ahead with this. We've already seen Mr. Chidambaram come out and say that this is a welcome move as far as the states, as far as this move is concerned, Tanvi.
Yes, that was interesting that the Congress Party's leader P. Chidambaram saying that this is a welcome move. Thanks, Avni, for that. Let's just try and break it down further. Madan Sabnavis, Chief Economist for Care Ratings, joins me this evening. Mr. Sabnavis, thank you for joining us at such short notice. We just wanted to understand, essentially, does this solve the problem for the states? And if it's not going to be a loan for the states and not going to show on centers a fiscal deficit math, then where does it get accounted?
No, I think this does solve the problem of the states for certain, because they made it very clear it will come as a capital receipt for the states, and the borrowing is actually being incurred by the central government and not the states. So therefore, I think it should be acceptable to all the states, because it's going to be repaid from the compensation cess in future years. So therefore, even there won't be a liability on them. There won't be any liability in terms of their debt numbers going up or the states borrowing. But I think the second question you raised is interesting as to how exactly will this be accounted for. And I think that is something novel. I would say it's something which is new, which the government is doing. So there are two ways of doing it. One is that it's already a part of the 12 lakh crores, which the central government is borrowing. So that's one way in which there's going to be no additional borrowing. The fiscal deficit numbers are not going to change, because the 12 lakh crores is already a part of whatever the fiscal deficit is for the year. The second option, I think, which is a possibility, is that they're getting a special window from the RBI, where there's the RBI who's giving in the money, and as was what was mentioned, it could be a new way of accounting where it doesn't enter the books of the centre, but the repayment anyway comes from compensation cess. So these are the two ways, I think, in which we can account for this 1.1 lakh crores, which is supposed to be a fiscal deficit neutral.
And could this have been done earlier itself, or is this something new that we are actually seeing the central government try?
No, I think this could have been done earlier, and we could have avoided this controversy, because I think essentially the case was that nobody wanted to take this debt on their books. And I think the states had a valid point, because this was something which was legitimate. When they agreed to the GST, there was this 14% number which was drawn up. Now, unfortunately, we have unusual circumstances where the centre was not able to honour it because there were no collections which were there. So I think this could have been done earlier, and this impasse which came about because neither of them wanted to take it on their books, I think it has been sorted out quite well, I would say. That's what we also felt at that particular point of time. They just asked the RBI to give 1.1 lakh crores to the states. It won't be in anyone's books. It will just be repaid from the compensation cess, and it becomes a neutral situation. Yes, we have probably lost a bit of time, but I think it has led to an interesting discussion, and I think this has been an amicable solution which has been reached.
Well, like I said, it's a novel idea that's been brought about, and in unprecedented times such as the ones we are living in, that's what really is required for government, states, and the center to come together and find a solution that actually works for everybody. And in this case, none of them really wanted the debt on their books. When they all discussed GST, it was more about sharing the revenues and who gets how much. Maybe we didn't factor it then, but now we know how to go about it. Thank you so much, Mr. Madan Sabnavis, for joining us and breaking this down for our viewers. So there you go, a big impasse that was going on between the center and the states, and largely the states which are obviously governed by opposition parties and not by the BJP, and they've been fighting over where the money is going to come from, and why should the states borrow when the center is supposed to give them the money. But where will the center get the money when the economy is down and out and they're not getting any tax collections? That has now been resolved by this decision that the central government will borrow 1.1 lakh crore rupees and then give that loan, forward that loan further to the states who need the money desperately right now for a lot of important things that have to be done on the economic front, on the health front, and other key projects. Quick break, lots more on the other side. Stay with me on the Urban Debate.